For any of those who are here, we'll kind of allow a few minutes here, one or two maybe, possibly, to let anyone else come on who might. I do want to say good morning. Actually, it's been a few weeks now, and 4 weeks we've missed the one in the middle. I hope if anyone else had children to return anywhere for school, or certainly if you are there, everything's safe, everyone's back post Labor Day. Yeah, locally we did have some showers last night, overnight. So today the sky is very blue as it clears. It's good to get out that haze and the heat. So hopefully things are well where you are, Leanna. You're saying it's still hot, I know, down there. So, but that's what it is. So, but I do want to say welcome. And I'm going to cut to our first piece on the agenda there. I'm very happy. We're all very happy. Well, we're happy as an organization to have Lori back. She'll probably give you a brief update on her health. But as I said, when we were without her 4 weeks ago, a positive attitude will make all the difference. And that's where I think Lori is. That's why she's where she is right now. And that's a good place. So I'll turn it over to you, Lori, for our moment of gratitude. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nate. Nice to see you all this morning. Your faces, your names, your photos, live, however you have chosen to come on board with us this morning. It's been a while for myself as well. I will just respond to what Nate spoke of. I had a little accident. I fell down and went boom, and I broke my leg. And so I'm here in a wheelchair. I can't quite maneuver into the right light at the moment. But I'm doing well, recovering well, and really happy to be back with OANV and surrounded by so much love and care. I'm very appreciative. So this morning, those of you, most of you have been on our calls, but when I share this moment of gratitude, honestly, it's just what comes to me, and I share it with you. So this morning, I invite you, if you're near a window or some opening to nature, I invite you to turn to your window and to look outside, or if you're not near a window, if you have some living plant, flowers on your table, something that you can really gaze at in this moment this morning. And let's just take a few breaths of appreciation for what we are seeing. And breathing into our heart center and seeing what today brings to us. And in this moment, letting the thoughts in our head just go by. And in that heart-centered breathing, imagining that our hearts are smiling on this glorious morning. And reflecting on contrast. Seeing this morning the beautiful light, perhaps where you are, it's cloudy. Hopefully it is no longer smoky. And recognizing the contrast that we work through, sometimes on a moment-to-moment basis, day by day, lightness and dark, ease and difficulty, the highs and the lows, what we have witnessed from smoky skies to clarity, perhaps from being mobile to being immobile, and appreciating that those of us who are here, most likely all of us, are able to navigate these contrasts and come to equilibrium, to homeostasis, to balance through the roller coaster that sometimes we are on in our life of these contrasts. And with that, feeling into our resilience, that we come through these times, these experiences, and we can be here today, and that we are present. And knowing that through rapport and understanding and relationship and all the tools that we have to offer, that we can assist others build their resilience and find that place of equilibrium as they move through their highs and lows and the darkness and light in their lives. So with appreciation for ourselves, for each other, for the work that we do, and what we are able to bring to those that we serve. Taking another generous, heart-centered breath, appreciating what we see out our windows and doors, and coming back together. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. That was very appropriate. I mean, I'm just watching the clouds move through the air, and with the haze here, we haven't seen that, unfortunately. So yeah, that motion, that just, yeah, that peaceful, like you say, that energy to know that it's things will return to what they are in the most basic form is very reassuring. It's been a while since I've seen a cloud drift across the blue sky here in Reno, and that's fantastic. So well, and sparks properly where I am. So with that in mind too, I wanted to, on the next on the agenda is to give you an update on the Nevada Financial Resiliency and Empowerment Project. And this is something that we put out there, and we are working on the marketing piece, but that is what we operate at Oasis, at Opportunity Alliance Nevada. I was putting too many letters together, and that is, and it's what we're consider what we do. What do we do at OANV? We operate the project, the Nevada Financial Resiliency and Empowerment Project, or NFREP as I call it, so I can keep the letters in the right order. But that is the overarching. That is one of the last pieces that Linda's here, and I thank her for bringing it on. I've been wrapping my own head around it, but that is where we are, and as I said, I'm watching that the clouds drift by here. We are going to be coming out of the COVID fog hopefully soon, and dealing with the fallout, and the project is going to be key to doing that. And again, the project covers several programs, two of which we'll definitely be hearing from next, getting good updates. Hold on here. Home office. So but luckily with one of those programs too, we have our two certified bridges trainers, Lori, and then of course Sydney Sullivan, another an actual board member too here, and they we're going to be hitting unpause on that luckily too. So bridges is back. I don't want to steal your thunder there, Lori, but again it's pivoting. It's going to be changing. So within the purview of the project and the other programs we do, and possibly more than likely utilizing our existing partners, and finding other partners to help us adapt to a pre-post pandemic world. Let's put it that way. We aren't post yet, but everything that this organization has done, as I'm learning, as I'm listening, and I'm still continuing my tour. There are many of you I will be reaching out to just to continue that. But obviously, the project is going to be it's going to be what we promote ourselves as operating, what we're going to be doing. And hopefully too, and this is why I like about this being an advisory committee, I'm looking forward to hearing back from any of you who have an idea of how we can get that message out there as well, and using the project as a hook. I was just having that thought this morning when I was getting ready here and thinking, what we want people to know, what is Oasis, what does Opportunity Alliance Nevada do? And when we say, well, we operate the Nevada Financial Resiliency and Empowerment Project, that may be hook enough. Well, what is the project? What does it do to get that dialogue, to have that conversation with each individual? Because we have different programs because different people have different problems. Sometimes an individual can be served by multiple programs and services we offer, but to get to that person, to work with them one-on-one as an individual, as a human being, or as a family, to make their family more resilient and empower that will alter the landscape of their neighborhood and their community, and likewise statewide. So that's where we are. That's what it is. So see more updates about the project. And please, if you have any questions or feedback, we would love to hear it as an organization. I would love to hear it directly as your executive director, to help us flesh it out. I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the dialogue or the elevator speeches that could be more appropriate. And as I continue my own listening and learning tour here, that is what we're going to be doing. That's what's going to be the hook, so that it's easier than to say, oh, now we have the rental or the eviction mediation program we'll hear about, or again, Bridges is back, or we have the VFNs. Rather than doing all that, we can, hopefully the hook will be the project. And again, this is the vision prior to me getting here, and I'm sold on it. But that's where it is, and it's going to help us again as the COVID fog lifts and we deal with the fallout of the pandemic. There are going to be multiple pieces where we are constantly looking to add partners. Hopefully, we'll have an update on that in a couple of weeks at the next advisory call, and see who else is back in, or who has been added to our team. Let's put it that way, on this call, and moving forward there. So, with all that. With all the words I spoke, I am going to hand it off to, again, one of the services, one of the programs that we offer within the project, and we'll get an update from Lori on the VFNs. I would direct you again to the chat box as well. Tracy was very kind, and if you don't see it, you can use your little raise your hand emoji on there. But the link will take you to our VFN summary sheet, the update, and Lori, you can share that if you want, if you have it up on your screen as you do your update, but I will hand it back to you for the update for the VFNs.
All right. Thank you, Nate. So I'll start just since Nate mentioned Bridges. As you may know, our Bridges Out of Poverty trainings have been on pause. We're back. We have and our partners are asking for training. So we are offering Bridges Out of Poverty training, and I am completing a recertification in Bridges to Health and Healthcare, which is most appropriate for healthcare organizations. So please, if any of your partners are interested in that training, we are planning to offer it by Zoom. So we will be able to reach out actually statewide and be able to offer community trainings by Zoom statewide as well. So you can contact me or contact Tracy for information on that. And with our VFN program, just briefly, we are hearing still people asking, I am behind on my rent. Where do I go for help? I think all of us are seeing now there's multiple pathways statewide for people to get rental assistance. So we're directing clients there. We're working with them with the spending and savings plan. And other folks are coming to us saying, all right, I've gotten my rental assistance. Kind of what do I do now? Thank you for the spending and savings plan. Please help me work with my debtors. We're referring folks to GreenPath. We're offering them the tools that we have and continuing our rapport with some clients who are returning to us as we're getting to, as Nate says, coming out of the fog of the COVID crisis, and ideally through our NFREP, helping with their resilience and empowerment to really become stable and to have a more sustainable financial life. So that's really it in a nutshell. We have some new financial navigators on board. We are very excited about the eviction mediation navigation program, and those folks, as they have gone through mediation, will be referred back to us, to our VFN program, to help them once they have navigated through that, to again work with their spending and savings plan and become hopefully more sustainable in the long term. So I think that's about it, Nate. And I have not yet opened the data piece. So I think as we look through that.
Yeah, everyone should have it there. Let me.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, there we go. I'll put it up for everybody real quick. Yes, please, Deb.
As I was looking at it, I noticed it's the compilation from April 2020 through current, I guess, the end of August. And I'm just curious if you have a sense, Lori, about the geographic pull, if you will. Where are we now getting people calling from? Has there been an equal distribution across the state, or are we getting more Clark? What's your sense of that? Curious as a rural person. So
yes, I would say, 95% of our calls, I can't quite read this myself at the moment, sorry, are Clark County, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Henderson, very few from the rurals, rare occasion, which makes me feel our rural partners are doing a great job assisting people to the resources that they need. A few from Reno, Washoe, Carson. I guess Carson's considered rural, actually, and Sparks. Yeah, but yeah, I'd say almost all Clark.
Okay, thanks for that.
And still, rent, mortgage, and utilities is the main thing that folks are asking as they call in initially. When they come back to us, which often they are coming a second and a third time. Okay, I've done this. Now what do I do? And that's part of our navigation worksheet, is we give them resources. Contact your creditors. What can you do about credit card debt? Are you able to reduce your expenses? And they'll come back and say, I've done, these things that, what's next? What should I do next? And that's, again, the rapport that our amazing VFNs establish with our clients, that they're able to have that kind of ongoing relationship and get them to the other side, so to speak.
All right. Any other questions for Lori at this moment? If you have something comes to your brain, we can ask her at the end of the call too. So.
If I can just notice now that I'm quickly looking at this, is it's pretty equal African American and Caucasian, with a higher percentage of Hispanic.
Of the 159, yeah, that we've collected.
Demographics on.
Yeah. So we don't always get, depending on the length of the conversation and the relationship, we are not always getting their ethnicity, but when we do, it's interesting, that breakout there.
When you say not reported at the very, very bottom, can you give me a sense of what that's about? How many, because that's nearly 2/3 of the actual reported are not reported. What does that mean?
Some of that, I know it wasn't collected. It wasn't part of their script to collect that at the beginning, I believe. And a lot of these, and we even have underlying ones. Yeah, Deborah, we can dive into this further. I'm a big data geek, so I've actually asked them to add a few things here that we may not have on the summary at some point, but that are underlying. And a lot of it has to do certainly with grant, either application or applying. So that probably was triggered by that, to add that, and then it was added to the script and such. So there's a lot that wasn't collected, and Lori can, like she said too, I think they're probably if the client is uncomfortable, we don't record it maybe too, possibly, Lori. I'm not sure how, because again, it's, we don't want to press them, right? We don't make them uncomfortable. But I know there was a time, obviously, when it wasn't even recorded it. We were just,
Yeah.
the program got stood up, and all our volunteer VFNs were just helping who they could help at the beginning of the pandemic, and here we are. So,
Well, one thing that's been referenced quite a bit as I've been on these meetings is how people come back a second or a third time, and then you have different things you start to work more intensively with. But it's not clear from the reasons for contact how many of, I think it'd be great to know how many of the numbers there are actual returnees or being clients that are going through a more intensive process with OAN. Not that I want you to collect more data, but
no, because I believe you can see that too. And correct me if I'm kind of wrong, Lori, too, with on the Zendesk side and everything there. You can see at the top there where it says number of tickets and the number of clients.
Okay.
So yeah, so you can see there's a difference of about 300, which means at some point there's duplicate tickets from clients, and that when they come back.
Okay, that's a good point.
All right. Right, yeah, and if you have anyone else, something pops in your brain, well, Lori's still here at the end, but we'll move on to, we have one of the next programs here. We have Shannon Chambers is here, and Shannon Myers is actually on as well. I'm gonna stop my share here so we can look at each other. They are, they're at the core. Shannon and her team too, she has 2 people on board. Shannon Myers does too, with the Eviction Mediation program that we set up through Home Means Nevada. So Shannon, I see you're unmuted. Shannon Chambers, you can go ahead and give us an update of that.
So good morning, Nate. Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. And I can't tell you how excited I was to see rain. They're up here in northern Nevada, so a good day. So kind of to piggyback on the comment about, how do the rurals look and how does the situation look right now for the eviction situation and rental assistance and different things. So the reality of the situation is the majority of cases are coming out of Clark County. For whatever reason, the eviction issue, which is a good thing, did not hit northern Nevada and the rural areas like it did Clark County. So the majority of cases are still coming out of Clark County, the Las Vegas Justice Court. So just for perspective, so once the state moratorium lifted at the end of May, we saw a surge of over 500 cases a month being referred to mediation out of Las Vegas. And then the combination with the other courts was around 100 a month. So that'll give you some perspective. The issue is still the same issue. Tenants not applying for rental assistance, not providing the right forms, landlords, for whatever reason, not wanting to take rental assistance or having other issues. Assembly Bill 486 that passed during the legislative session did provide a potential defense to an eviction if rental assistance was pending. So that is still the challenge, is tenants either for whatever reason, and we're over a year into rental assistance at this point, for whatever reason they don't apply or they don't know what to do. So, there's been a lot of publicity and a lot of outreach and a lot of interaction, and, Shannon Myers and her team have kind of seen that in the cases that they've been working, that for whatever reason, these tenants still don't follow through and still don't do what they need to do. That may get a little better because the United States Treasury has put out some guidance as a result of the U.S. Supreme Court overturning the federal moratorium on evictions. So once that happened, the U.S. Treasury put out some guidance that rental assistance should flow more freely, is the best way I can say it, that tenants could use self-attestations is what they're called. So a tenant would use a form saying, I lost my job on such and such a date because of COVID. I only make this amount of money. I'm signing this statement under, penalty of perjury. And then that document could potentially be used to provide them rental assistance instead of all the different forms. I was on a call this Wednesday with the White House Secretary Yellen from the Treasury, and then they had some model examples of states and cities who have put up rental assistance programs and who've been able to get the money out very, very quickly. So for example, the state of Virginia or the Commonwealth of Virginia, Governor Northam was on, and they kind of from the very start, and this is going back to 2020, they kind of went the self-attestation route from the start, and also allowed more flexibility for landlords to apply for rental assistance. So my hope was some of this new guidance, and I've been having conversations with Clark County and with all the partners, legal aid, the Supreme Court, the district courts. Our hope is over this next month or so that we can find more flexible ways to get rental assistance out, whether that's to the landlords, because the reality is in some of these situations, the tenants are not going to apply and they've already left. And that is a reality now. I will tell you that we are just flat out seeing, you know, out of the 500 or so cases that come through in a month, there's probably 100 where the tenant can't be located or they're already gone. But that doesn't solve the problem going forward, because that rental debt is still technically owed to the landlord, and that still could follow the tenant. And so, you know, I'm kind of seeing a next phase to all of this is the rental assistance is intended to make, you know, the landlord whole and kind of get that situation resolved. I think the point that was made earlier is what happens after that. And so we are also seeing now the other cycle of there are people who've received the maximum 12 months of rental assistance. So there is no more money that they can get. So City of Las Vegas kind of came up with their own program that they have said they may use to help those people who have maxed out the 12 months and who may need a little bit more help. But the discussion at some point, and this is just my view, the discussion at some point is going to have to turn to utilizing whatever funds are available or American Rescue Plan funds for rehousing, or potentially for housing subsidies in the forms of rental assistance payments or housing down payments or whatever we do. The issue of housing affordability is just critical in this state. And I've been on several meetings. Northern Nevada, I mean, if you live in Northern Nevada, it is beyond words what is happening. I mean, some of the rental rates, I think the average rent in Reno now is over $1,600. Unfortunately, many of these individuals, even if they get that 12 months of rental assistance, they've either had their hours cut back, or they're not making the same amount of money, or they've decided to not to go back to work. And that is another reality that's going on right now too. So, you know, the call I was on Wednesday, and that was kind of the tone of that call was, let's try over the next month and a half or so to get that rental assistance money out as quickly as we can. But then at some point, as we are all mentioning, the post-COVID, the post-this, we have to turn to something else. But my view is, in my forecast, and, you know, Shannon Myers and the OANV team, you know, we're in for probably at least another 4 to 5 months of 500 cases a month, and cycling those out, and then seeing where we go from here at the end of 21 and rolling into 22. But there's still a lot of I don't want to call it pain, but still a lot of people that are going to be out of the place that they live, and that's the best way I can say it. And just to kind of mention the housing side, and I'm happy to answer any questions too. The housing side, so there's been forbearances for mortgages. Those are running out the end of September. So same thing, you either had a 12-month or an 18-month. Those forbearances are going to end basically at the end of September. The information that I've been receiving and hearing is that side of things looks better for whatever reason, that, you know, the forbearances, and then there are some housing assistance funds that are going to potentially come through, but we don't expect a giant wave of foreclosures. There's definitely going to be some foreclosures. And even in the time of the past year, year and a half, where there were eviction moratoriums and foreclosure moratoriums, there were still over 1,000 foreclosures in the state of Nevada, 1,008. So we expect, once that forbearance period lifts end of September, we do expect an increase in notice of defaults, probably going into the end of 21 and then the beginning of 22. But it's my impression that that side of things and the mortgage servicers and the banks have done a much better job of kind of assessing their risk and really trying to help people refinance and be able to stay. So we'll see how that side goes. But, the rental eviction side of things has pretty much eclipsed everything. And I'll say it that way. And like I said, we're in for this probably for another 6 or 7 months. But I just want to say to all of you that it's great working with the OANV team, and we're going to keep adding some things to your plate, and look forward to a long partnership, not just on this side, but on the foreclosure side when that does eventually hit, and it will.
Well, and that's why, I honestly, it's back to the project. I mean, that's why it's easier to classify everything underneath that, so we can be nimble. Because as you mentioned, I mean, we went from CHAPS to now eviction mediation, and down the road, some sort of foreclosure mediation potentially. So that's great. Thank you, Shannon. Is there? Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, she open it up for any questions or anything of her. Possibly Shannon Myers too. I know what you mentioned too, and Shannon Myers and I, well, we obviously were touching base, and she did mention too, excuse me, yeah, that this is difficult, and it is a reminder that we work, that our navigators all work with, real people, real individuals. So I know, yeah, it's not an 8-hour a day gig with these people that we're assisting. It is very trying, but we're helping people. So I don't know. Yes, Shannon, I don't know if you want to comment at all, or Shannon Chambers, do you have anything else to add, or anyone has any questions before we wrap it up here?
I can piggyback a little bit and let everyone know what it looks like within Opportunity Alliance. We have myself and 2 eviction mediation navigators, and we had a really successful training. And now we've started working through cases, connecting the dots between CHAPS rental assistance and the mediation program. We are collecting those attestation forms that Shannon Chambers just mentioned. And we're implementing and initiating the spending and savings plans to not just help them in the moment, but also as moving forward. They get their rental assistance, perhaps, and that gets them through that month, but what's happening next month? So we start that and hope to then, if they would like more assistance with that, we push it on to the volunteer financial navigators within OANV. And what this looks like, it's within Opportunity Alliance. It's really fun. We've utilized Google Workspaces. Tracy set us up with that, and it's been really great. So we'll be on, the 3 of us, probably usually either from 8 or 9 in the morning until 1 or 2 in the afternoon. We're all on our Google Workspace, and we have an eviction mediation room, and it's really neat. It's kind of like the Zoom format where our names are always up there, and it's a little bit like working in cubicles. And so if you're talking with a client and you get off the phone with them and you have a question, you just kind of knock on peek over the cubicle and you ask questions. And it's a really great platform where I found that questions and things like that, there's very little lag time. It's not like we're sending an email to each other and waiting for the person to return. We're right there. It's very efficient, and it's working really well. And again, 2 really great navigators on board, and it's really, really fun. It's great work. And if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
So this is Shannon. I did see a question in the chat of the transition of funds to rehousing. So there are funds there now, but the issue with some of the federal money that came out is that it has some definite rules to it, and that's the best way I can say it. There's a lot of money floating around, but every source of money, every bucket of money has its own requirements to it. So like the emergency rental assistance money, that is strictly for, rental assistance, not for rehousing. Now, what tends to happen as we get towards the end of any given year. So remember back to the Coronavirus Relief Act, that was in 2020. Those funds were supposed to be used by December 31st of 2020. It turned out that a lot of that money wasn't used, so they extended that and then allowed it to be used for more things. So my sense, Deb, of what's going to happen as we get towards the end of this year and even as we get towards the end of September is the federal government's going to say, okay, how much money has actually been spent? And then at that point in time, there may be a discussion that we're going to allow you to use this money for different things, whether it's rehousing, whether it's down payment assistance, whether it's rental assistance for actual like rent going forward versus rent behind. But that's my sense of it. But right now, that money, the ERAP is what they call it, Emergency Rescue Assistance Plan, that money is strictly for rental arrears and rent that is owed.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with any questions about the mediation? I appreciate too, Shannon Chambers. Feel like we're in, kindergarten or something with Shannon C and Shannon M here, but
I've had that experience before, so it's okay.
lots of Shannon, lots of Shannons, right? Anyway, I appreciate what you actually had to share too about your national call. Hearing what everyone else is, hearing ideas from other states and where other things are doing too. Because as my discussions, the listening tour and everything as well have been, I'm truly seeing, OANV here as the table as it was called before I even arrived. Because the work, as I tell people, I live in the middle because the work gets done in the middle of that table. So it's wonderful. If there are any comments, any ideas, please, don't hesitate to contact any of us with more questions, but definitely ideas as well. We can identify problems, but we don't always have the solution. I don't have the solution to all the problems that I can see, but we're in this together, and so we can fix it together. We can get there together. So with that, if there's any other broader questions or comments or anything, statements from any of our advisory committee members, I appreciate. Let's see, we have 20 of us on here, so aside from Tracy and myself, the 18 of you who found the time, to attend this morning, I really appreciate that. It's good to see you. Hopefully, I'll return in 2 weeks, and we'll see a little more. All right, so yeah, we'll do that.
Nate, before we go, I apologize. If no one has participated in the NevadaRecoveries.com, could you guys please go on there? Because it will help direct the state of Nevada how to spend the $2.7 billion that the state received. So they're looking for input from all of us.
Yes, and actually Tracy is kind of taking the initiative very well, and we'll be promoting that as well in our social media in OANV, and I would encourage everyone else to, as there are things too, with social media still being the digital word of mouth, as they say, please like, share. There's so many other people I work with, organizations I work with, that assist. So that'll keep getting the word out. Keep our VFNs busy. Keep adding VFNs as well. We're always looking for volunteers, always looking for people to help. We can always find something for someone to do, even if it's not VFN. But yeah, we're here to help Nevada. And again, the Nevada Recovers, we can have a major part in that. So let's flood Zach Conine's inbox, please.
Awesome. Nate,
So,
I had just one quick thing. As most of you know, I always kind of have one sort of last thing to say. I just want to really recognize Shannon Myers. Shannon Myers has been a VFN with us from, I think, maybe day one, has given her sort of blood, sweat, and tears over the last year and almost a half whenever we began. And Shannon, I just really want to acknowledge you for all you have done for OANV. And then as we were looking at entering this program with Shannon Chambers, we reached out to her and said, you know, is this something you want to do? Family, school, everything she's got going on. And she reflected and said yes, and has brought with her so much expertise of everything she has done with us over those years and everything she does for community in general. So I just want to really acknowledge her, and we are so grateful, Shannon Myers and Shannon Chambers, your collaboration to really make this happen.
Thank you very much. If my video were on, you'd see I'm blushing. Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
one of
Shannon.
us will change our names, so we'll figure that out.
Well, at least we could be Shannon C and Shannon M. I mean, I am an old school teacher, so and as many of you heard of my listening tour or my talking tour, yeah, one of my best friends growing up had the same name, different middle name, Nathan Strong, distant cousin. So, you know, it can get worse. But I want to thank everyone as well for attending. I will put this out though, as well as I'm listening. So as I mentioned with the project, with the Nevada Financial Resiliency and Empowerment Project, as we're going to be updating our website and again promoting that through social media and everything as well, as we can hit benchmarks, as we add partners or programs or services. And certainly I welcome any feedback. So we will be making changes to it, actually probably just after the next call. So I will definitely ask you in 2 weeks if you have any feedback as well. But obviously that's where people are, probably even more with the pandemic now than ever, online. So the more informative, again, even the more catchy, if you will, you know, hey, we can help you, however we can get that on there. So we welcome any feedback to myself or Tracy here, you know, on the front line. We will be making changes certainly to advertise the project. To expose it, to market it, and again, and as I was just thinking today, maybe that's enough of a foot, you know. And on the website, I can think of, you know, the tab for the project, and then clicking on it and seeing the services and the programs and the assistance we can offer. So possibly that's enough to just someone say, well, what is the project? But we are definitely working on that, and again too, the website that Diane mentioned, Tracy put it in the chat there, so chat as well, nevadarecovers.com, but she also put in our link, so please go have a look-see. You know, it'll change, but we are welcome for any comments rather from you, so that again, as we change, how can we get the message out better? You're listening just as much as I'm listening right now. What are you hearing? You know, and how do we think we can connect with these people on all of our clients on more or less an individual level as well, so that we can continue to serve all 17 counties, you know, of our great state. And again, too, any ideas, you know, as Shannon Chambers, I love that. I mean, we have 49 other laboratories that are doing something as well, as I like to look at it. So I welcome feedback. Give me a call, shoot me an email. Tracy can set up a Zoom meeting since we're still in that world. And I will be reaching out to a number of you that I haven't yet. And if I haven't, I apologize. And you should hear from me. If not, please, that's definitely my oversight. And let me know what we can do to grow the project and to reach more people, touch more lives, and add value to those lives. So if anyone else has if there aren't any comments, I'll just say we will be on in 2 weeks. I'm definitely planning on that. We should have more updates potentially from Shannon and Shannon as we get closer to the October 3rd, which, as you pointed out, Shannon, that the Supreme Court made that not a hard deadline. So we definitely have more updates from that, and potentially with our other programs as well. Bridges, VFN will always have something, so you can keep your finger on the pulse. Otherwise, with that, I can bid you adieu. We'll do that, Deb. I will do that. So All right. Well, everyone have a wonderful, yeah. As I mentioned, we're on the other side of Labor Day. Summer is over. We'll be heading into the last quarter of the year financially, all those things. So let's make it a good one. Have a great weekend, post-holiday weekend. Have a great September. We'll see you at the other end of it. And yeah, everyone just have a wonderful end of your week this week and a wonderful 2 weeks to come until we see you again. Or
Great,
if I
thank
see
you.
you sooner.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.